Hi friends, Miss Snowden here. I'm going to be talking to you about Earth's energy resources, where we get the energy that runs our lights in our school building or in your home, what runs our devices. Where does that all come from? Because as we talked about in life science, plants get that energy from the sun. We get the energy from the plants we eat and the animals we eat. So our building in our phone, they are not consumers and they don't eat and they don't produce their own energy. So where does that come from? And so we're going to talk about we get it. We get it from the earth, and the earth gets it from basically the sun. So on this very first page, they're talking about geothermal energy. So I'd like you to find I want you to pause this video. I want you to read these paragraphs and have in your brain what geothermal happens to be. And then I will meet back with you on this page. So stop the video. So as you've read, you have found out that the under very many layers of Earth, there happens to be some steam and hot water that gather down there, usually around volcanic activity areas and stuff like that. Those are great, great, great places. And so what they do is they collect this steam and they shoot it through what is called a turbine. All right. Now, turbines can be in many shapes and sizes, but in this particular case, it's kind of like a tower. And so as the steam rises, it goes through and it starts turning something that kind of looks like a fan. And as that fan starts to turn, it's turning a shaft, which then will turn magnets and wires, and will turn it into electricity. As long as we can get something to turn the turbine, energy can be collected. Okay. And so steam is what they have found out with geothermal, is they let it go through this tower and it turns the crank and turns the shaft, which then turns the battery or the magnets, the very strong magnets and wires, and will turn it into energy that we can collect and send to different homes. So what is neat about geothermal energy is that it's very renewable. It is not anything that we have to burn and pollute, and it's always there. Okay. And so with renewable resources, these are things that can be replaced within a reasonable amount of time. This one is just always there. Okay. We're going to talk about another one like wind. Wind is always there, especially in Oklahoma. All right. And what is cool about geothermal is it doesn't put any pollutants in the air to make it stink up our air or harm plants or animals or us or anything like that. So it's available in all places where it can be used. And like it says in here, it's usually around volcanoes or places where the ground is very hot. If you've ever been to hot springs in Arkansas, you can see where you walk down the street downtown, you'll see heat rising up from the sewer grates because the ground itself is just so warm. All right. And there are some disadvantages because you have to drill to get down into these places within the rock. And with that, drilling can be expensive, and it does tear up some of the habitats as well. And so there are some downsides to geothermal, but then there are some positives about it too. So that's just one of the many different ways that we get energy. And so right here is a geothermal plant. And you can see that it has steams. You can see these towers that turn the turbines, and then it can shoot that electricity off to the homes nearby. It's pretty amazing. So why do we need energy? In this paragraph, you're going to read about what was used long ago. So I want you to find out by reading this paragraph first before I give you a spoiler alert as to what was used down yonder days. Okay, well, if you remember the crudes or um, any kind of any kind of show or movie that talks about cavemen and all of that, they always talk about the yellow flower. I think that was in Crudes. And they also talk about fire because fire is life. And so fire was what cooked food. It kept them warm during cold nights. So fire was very, very important. All right. And also, they also talk about how they use strong animals and stuff. But fire was one of the things that they used. And so they would burn mainly back then, they would burn lumber or wood, okay, or they would burn off any leftover remains of plants. That was what kept their cabins or their campsites warm. So that was very, very important. But we don't use that so much anymore. There are some people that use wood burning stoves, especially those people that live in the bush or live up very far north that access to electricity is not available to them. So they use wood burning stoves. But right here, we have different ways of making energy from other things. And so in this paragraph, they're going to talk about how this fuel, this fire, as long as we can make a fire, just like with the rising of steam, we can make fire because it will also rise, heat rises and can turn a turbine. They're going to talk about what else is out there that can be burned. Now, these are different types of energies that come from a fuel. Now, these do pollute the air and they do cost and they do cause a little bit of damage to nature because we have to get them from the ground. So I'm going to let you read this paragraph and then I will meet you back here and we will talk about it. Okay, so if you have your book, this is what I would have you highlight in my class because this really, really has a lot of information in it. It talks about how when we burn fuel from the ground, it changes forms. It changes from whatever it was to a light or a heat. And again, just like with burning wood, this burns as well. So what we instead of use now is what we call right here fossil fuels. Fossil fuels, and then it has a hyphen here, can be coal, and coal is what you see in these train cars right here. Big, big rocks that are black. You're probably familiar with it because Santa Claus probably puts it in your stocking every year. Har, har. Okay, yeah, I said it. I went there. Yes, so coal, or it could be oil. In Oklahoma, we do a lot of drilling for oil. Okay, that's a liquid form. And then natural gas. Okay, natural gas is not a solid. It is a gas just like oxygen and hydrogen and carbon dioxide. All right. These fossil fuels came from plants and animals that died a very, very long time ago. And it takes many, many years for this to be pressured under different layers of the earth and compacted and heated up because we talked about how it gets warm under the layers of the earth. And so it turns into this rock substance like coal, or it could be into the liquid form of oil, which then turns into gasoline. And as you can see, gasoline and oil. This is what makes our trains and cars and boats and the airplanes in the sky all kind of move. Now, natural gas is very flammable. You have to be very, very careful with it, because if you get it around a flame, dad or mom have probably some natural gas in their fireplace. They probably use it in their barbecue grill, those types of things, and they are it's cheaper to burn and all that, but it does pollute the air, and we use it to heat and to cook, and those are the main things that we have to use these resources for. So these are what we call energy from fuels. Now there is a way to get energy from other things that do not necessarily cause a pollutant of any kind. And so these are energies from non-fuels. Now I want to caution you, in Canvas, there is a section where I put in a bunch of these, and then you have to tell me whether it's a fuel or a non-fuel. So coal, oil, natural gas, fossil fuels, all of those, petroleum, any kind, petrol. You'll hear someone say petrol every once in a while, in other countries sometimes. And these are all things that are um, from a fuel. Non-fuels are what we're going to talk about on this page. So I'm going to stop and if you'll stop the video as well and read about hydroelectric energy. You're also going to talk about wind energy, the sun, so solar panels, that type of thing. You're going to see what those are all about. So I will meet you back here again. So take some time to read this so it's in your reading before I start throwing words at you. So meet you back in a minute. Okay, non-fuel sources. So let's talk about hydroelectric, and that has to deal with the picture down here below. This is a picture of a dam, and as you can see, it holds back a lot of that water. And so as it's pushing back that water, sometimes they will allow that water to trickle over, and as it does, again, here's that word turbine again. It has those blades in it, and that turbine will turn a crankshaft, in other words, a generator, basically. And as it starts to turn, it will turn and make electricity. All right. So as long as we can get those blades to turn in that turbine, we will have electricity. So you can see when that water falls, it can turn a turbine. Another one is the wind turbines. And you've probably been traveling, I guess, where I see the most of them is when you travel like toward Enid. You go west out of Mustang, Union City. You're going to see a lot of these different windmills, turbines that turn. And so wind is free. It doesn't cost us a thing. And as it turns those blades, it turns that turbine in there, and it's connected to a generator, and it makes electricity for us. And so that is a free way to get electricity. And then you'll see some people that have solar panels on their home. And usually they make them very, very dark and black so that when heat is attracted to things that are dark, because if you've ever played outside in the summertime, you wear light colored clothing because that dark and black shirts will attract the heat and you get hotter faster. So in the summertime, you wear these light colored clothes so that you can reflect the sun off of you. And so solar panels will do the exact same thing. They will collect that energy. That energy will then heat up, turn turbine. It does it all. Okay. And of all of the different resources that make electricity, our book and scientists say that this is probably the cheapest and the most energy efficient of all of them. And it basically goes back to what we talked about at the beginning of the year, energy coming originally from the sun. Okay. And so solar panels can collect that in a very simple way. And and what people will do. I know that Bill Nye, I've read about him. He has solar panels on his home, and what's so cool is that sometimes if you collect more than your household can use, you can sell it back to the electric company, and they will purchase that energy from you, and then they will give that energy, not give, sorry, you still have to pay for it, send that energy to other homes. And so, yeah, so it kind of pays for itself sometime down the line. So let's look at these different types of electrical energy. Most of it is used for electricity, okay, but it does not just come naturally, not just like plants do. So it has to come from a generator. So you have to have a turbine turning the crankshafts so it'll work. So here is your wind energy. So there's those turbines that you see out west of Mustang and in other places as well that collect it. And you can see the wires taking it to homes and things like that on this page. You can also see the energy from the water. That was the hydroelectric hydro. That first part is like fire hydrant, hydrate, hydrosphere, all has to deal with water. So you can kind of remember that. That's what goes there. And then you have your solar panels here on this home, which actually collects it and which runs the TV, the oven, the refrigerator. That's what this graphic kind of shows us. And then over here is the geothermal, or the burning of coal, that type of thing. And you can see that none of these others pollute, but you can see that this one does add some pollution to the air, and it goes to your car, goes to the library, make sure that the computers and the lights work in the library. Very, very cool way to know how energy gets there. So now we know how living things get energy and how non-living things get energy. So on this page, they want to talk about the impacts of energy production, the impact of getting this energy and using it. And so this is a coal mining and drilling operation over here. So you can see again, drilling and for oil or getting coal out of the ground, it does change the landscape, and you're taking life away, or habitats away from wildlife and things like that. So that's what this page talks about. And then in this paragraph, it talks about the more efficient ways that can be used is to install solar technology. Okay, placing solar panels on your rooftop, providing power to homes and businesses without additional land or connections to a power plant that will pollute. And so that's kind of what this lesson is telling us about. So the impacts of our energy usage, we have to think about it. And just like with our water usage, making sure that we don't pollute and tear up our land and pollute our water and all of that. So down here you have two questions. What's the original source of energy that people used to use? So that goes back to that one page where I talked about what people used as well as what plants use. Okay, what was it that helped heat their homes? And then what's another source of energy that people can use? So think of all of those other ones that we mentioned or wrote down on that graphic page. So again, if you have highlighted everything or looked at everything highlighted here, that should help you with answering your questions. Good luck. And again, if you have any questions, come to the room and let me know what it is that you need, and we will touch base later. All right. Have a great day. Bye.